Play Dirty didn't initially cast Mark Wahlberg as Parker, and the original idea might have resulted in a better film. Directed by Shane Black, Play Dirty is the latest cinematic adaptation of the Parker character. Created by Donald E. Westlake, under the pen name of Richard Stark, Parker is an iconic subversion of the typical crime literature anti-hero. The character has already been brought to life by the likes of Lee Marvin, Robert Duvall, and Jason Statham. Mark Wahlberg is the latest, with Play Dirty ultimately being a fine if forgettable adaptation. It's a shame, though, because Play Dirty's original casting suggested a more exciting approach to the character. Play Dirty almost starred Robert Downey Jr. Jeffrey Meyer Media Punch INSDA Rimages. Play Dirty was initially meant to star Robert Downey Jr., a casting that feels more in line with the source material than the eventual decision to bring in Mark Wahlberg. When it was announced that Shane Black was adapting a script from the Parker series of novels, the involvement of Team Downey indicated Robert Downey Jr.'s interest in the role. Having collaborated together on the cult classic Kiss Kiss, Bang Bang, Downey and Black seemed to be a dream partnership for a movie about Parker. Unfortunately, Downey eventually stepped away from starring in the film, although he remains a producer on the finished product. Instead, Mark Wahlberg took over the part in 2023, as reported by Deadline at the time. While it's unclear just how much this change in the casting impacted the tone of the film, the result is a Parker who comes across more as a standard action hero. Wahlberg isn't bad in the part, either. However, his style of aggressive confidence isn't as fine a fit for Parker as Downey Jr. would have been. Wahlberg's version of Parker is harsh, but with a touch of the prickly vulnerability that Wahlberg often brings to his performances. Even Wahlberg's harshest characters have a touch of his charm and humanity, and that extends to Parker in scenes with the rest of his crew or when opening up to Zen. That means the necessary ruthless Parker moments come across as a departure from the rest of the movie, throwing off the tone. Wahlberg's take on the character, with the actor's charm and touch of emotion, makes the character more in line with his action movie heroes instead of the colder criminal of the novels. Robert Downey Jr. is better suited for Parker than Mark Wahlberg. Downey was a great casting for Parker, a deceptively tricky character to get right. Designed as a blunt rebuttal to the gentleman thief archetype, Parker is a no-nonsense professional whose snarky attitude and ruthless tactics make him a dangerously efficient criminal. He doesn't develop a conscience, he doesn't have regrets, and there is no redemptive arc. Parker vowing revenge is less out of emotional distress or ego and more from professional expectations. The Parker of Play Dirty doesn't quite get that tone correct, as his personal anger over the death of his friends and his personal sense of pride what sets up his eventual choices in the narrative. There's an emotional aspect to Wahlberg's Parker, whether it's low-key moments with a widow or his friendly banter with Grofield, that makes him human. That removes what makes Parker such a compelling lead. Parker barely has any overt emotions. He's sarcastic and clever, but never in a self-aware or friendly way. Parker doesn't have friends, he has associates. Parker is almost inhuman to a certain degree, lacking in overt empathy or evil. He just is, making him a perfect subversion of the typical anti-heroes that get glorified and humanized by the crime genre. Wahlberg isn't playing that version of the character, and it's hard not to imagine how Downey might have played that darker edge. While Downey has plenty of experience in the action genre as a snarky anti-hero, the darker edge he can infuse characters with might have given Parker that quiet brutality that defines him. Downey has never been quite the kind of action movie star that Wahlberg is. While Downey had the MCU, it wasn't exactly the run-and-gun adventures that Wahlberg starred in. As such, Downey's version of Play Dirty may have emphasized more of the gritty noir elements than Wahlberg's more action-heavy version of the movie. Downey Jr. is talented at infusing his characters with an internal darkness that they only let out in bursts, which would have been a good fit with the perpetually harsh and casually lethal Parker. There's a bluntness to the character that can be funny, tragic, or scary, a quick flexibility that Downey is perfectly suited for. Play Dirty isn't a bad movie, but it does feel like it lost some of the magic of the Parker novels in adapting it into a story that feels like the perfect example of a Mark Wahlberg heist flick.